Good morning. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. This week's parsha is the parsha of Shlach, and it contains a major narrative, the story of the Meraglim, the spies, a narrative that changes the course of Jewish history. The Jewish people are about to go into the land of Israel. Remember, the original plan is to leave Egypt and go to Israel. And that process should have taken about a year, roughly. And because they wanted to stop to receive the Torah at Sinai, build the Mishkan, but that takes about a year. And then the plan is, okay, go into Israel. And so the Jewish people send spies to bring back a report of what the land is like. And the spies come back with a negative report. The people are hysterical because they feel that they will not be able to be successful going into the land of Israel. God is very upset and disappointed that the people don't trust God's promise that He would give them the land of Israel. And it's really a fiasco at many levels. And that is where God decides that the people are not ready to enter the land of Israel now, that instead of it being a relatively straightforward journey of about a year or so, it's going to have to be a total of 40 years. And the Torah says, God says in the aftermath of this debacle, God says, Uvnechem yiyu roem bamidbar abarim shana. You and your children will be wandering in the desert for 40 years. That, of course, is a great shock to the Jewish people. Imagine if you assume, because at this point they were literally weeks away from arriving in the land of Israel, and all of a sudden it's another 39 years. Vayidaber Moshe es hadvarim ha'ele el kol bnei Yisrael, and Moshe conveyed to the Jewish people all of these words, the change in plans. Vayisablu ha'am ma'od, and the people mourned and grieved exceedingly, which is understandable. That's the major narrative, shifts the entire history of the Jewish people, and certainly shifts the focus and parameters of the Torah itself, because now we have this additional 39-year period of history that was not initially intended to be in the desert, it was intended to be in Israel. But there's another tiny narrative. It's often overlooked and it's often overshadowed. But Sivan Rahab Meir finds in this tiny narrative a powerful and relevant lesson. And the narrative starts with the next pasuk. So after the Jewish people hear that they're not going in a couple of weeks, it's going to be 39 more years, and they're very, very upset. The next pasuk says as follows: Vayashkimu baboker, a group of Jews awoke the next morning. Vayalu el rosh hahar lemar, and they started marching towards the mountain, saying, Hinenu va'alinu el makom asher amar Hashem ki chatanu. We're going to Israel now. We're just going. It was a terrible sin that happened. The Jewish people sinned. We were guilty of not having trust, of not being grateful, and we're going to make up for it. We're just going now. Vayomer Moshe said to them, Lama ze'atem ovrim es pi Hashem. But why are you violating what God said? God said you're not going in now. God said it's going to be 39 years. You think somehow you're able to rectify this with some kind of impetuous, immediate action, just traveling right now to Israel? V'hi lo tislach, you're not going to be successful. Don't do this. Al talu, ki ein Hashem b'kirbechem. Don't go up, don't do this, because God is not with you. God has said this is not the way that this problem needs to be handled. But Vayapilu lalos el rosh hahar, but they did not listen. They left. They started marching immediately, and as Moshe had said to them, the armies of Amalek and Canaan came after them and destroyed them. And of course, they were not protected by God because God had told them not to do that. There's a famous quote. It's actually not clear who it's from. For every complex problem, there is a simple solution, and it is wrong. We all want simple, clear, fast solutions. And sometimes there are problems that have those kind of solutions, but often, many problems, especially complex problems, only have complex, lengthy solutions. So there's a television show, maybe you've seen it. I don't watch it that often, but a couple of days ago, I happened just to stop the channel for about 5 minutes, and in about 5 minutes I got the whole show. So, but it's a television show called House, and it's about an extraordinary doctor. So this scene is, I understand, kind of typical of this series. So the storyline goes like this. There's a man in the hospital, deathly ill, and they don't know what's wrong. And they go through all kinds of tests. First they think it's cancer, then they think it's a stroke, and then they think it's this, and they're doing tests and trying to figure it out. And the man is dying, and they can't figure it out. And then all of a sudden, the man's wife happens to make some kind of offhand remark, and Dr. House hears it, and he realizes that this man is taking some type of supplement. And this supplement contains an ingredient, and he's taking too much of this supplement. And all he has to do is stop taking this supplement, which of course he was doing to be healthy, but stop taking this supplement, and immediately the condition is better, he's cured, everything is fine, and it's 9 o'clock and the show ends. Okay, sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's how life works. But often it's not. And this group wanted a simple, quick solution to the complex problem of the Meraglim. But God had said no. God had said, this is not a simple problem. This is a complex problem. This relates to a problem of a lack of character within the Jewish people, a lack of trust in God, a lack of gratitude for what God is offering. And this is going to take 40 years to fix. This is something that needs to be ingrained slowly and patiently over time. And after 40 years, you're going to be ready to successfully go in. But you're not ready now, and you will not be successful now. Now, I understand, it's obvious, people prefer a simple, quick solution. But this is an example of where they went wrong, where they tried to substitute a simple, quick solution when in fact God is telling them that the only solution that will be helpful is something that will take a long time. The clear and dramatic application to this pandemic, I think, should be obvious. Nothing short of a miracle from God will cause a simple, quick, clear end to this problem. Dr. Fauci just said the other day, return to normality will not be this fall or winter. We're praying that this unprecedented effort to find a vaccine will be successful, but that also is not a quick, immediate, simple solution. There are steps and pitfalls all along that process. But not just in this area of life, in many areas of life, in particular when it applies to midos, to personality traits. If we're trying to work on ourselves, we find that we are too quick to get angry. We find that we don't always search for the approach between people that leads to peace. We find that sometimes we have a hard time forgiving people or being understanding of what someone else is going through. All of these midos, all of these character traits, if we are serious about trying to work on them, there is no immediate quick fix. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience. I've shared with you before the famous comment of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who devoted his life to trying to help people improve our personality traits. He said that changing a midah, improving a personality trait, is more difficult than finishing the entire Talmud twice. And I would add, not only is it more difficult, it takes longer. So this Shabbos, as we learn the Parsha, let's pay attention to the major drama of the Parsha and learn the lessons that we're supposed to learn about appreciating the land of Israel and trusting that what God says is going to happen and having gratitude for what God has given us. But let's also pay attention and internalize the lesson of this smaller narrative, that sometimes the solution is not simple, and we need to be prepared for the duration of what it will take to solve it. My friends, have a wonderful day. I wish you well, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.